I'm one of those lucky people who found something to do in life where that I could earn a living and not really have to work in the regular world, because I would have just vaporized. I wouldn't, if it wasn't for show business, I'd be freaking homeless. I would be. I'd be out on the street. But luckily, in the United States, somebody who has whatever talent, the kind of talent that I seem to have, you can market it and you can use it to live on. So, I started out. I think I mentioned to you that when I was 10 years old, my dad hired the Three Stooges to perform at my birthday party, and from that moment on, it kind of lit up the runway of my life, and I just kept at it.
Imagine that the actual Three Stooges at
The
your birthday
actual Three
party.
Stooges.
Amazing. And we have some pictures that we'll show a little bit later on for those that are going to be watching this later on. But for the audio people out there, the ones that are going to be listening on iHeart and on 88.6 FM, just the fact that you're here, we really appreciate it. Like I said,
Oh, sure.
you're part of a cult classic. I mean, that's kind of how a lot of people in the film industry and otherwise, because obviously those type of things come back to life. That was in '72, Last House on the Left, and you were Junior Stillo in that. I
I
know that.
was.
I mean, the horror community, everybody knows who you are, obviously. Does that ever get old? Like, meaning that, like, are you tired of like, oh, you were in that, even though you've done so many things since then?
No, it doesn't get old because it represented for me. First of all, I learned the foundation fundamentals of everything I know about producing film and television on that shoot, is as bare bones as it was. And I've had a evolving relationship with the film. When it first came out, I was 21 years old, and I used it basically to get laid and to have fun with my life. And I didn't really take it seriously. I didn't take what the film was seriously, and I because I wasn't mature enough at that point to understand it for what it is. So I went through this kind of roller coaster ride with it, where it meant something, and then it didn't, and then a few years ago I watched it again after having not seen it in a while, and I finally settled on what it represented to me, and that was a skirmish in ongoing class warfare. And when I settled on that, I began to understand what Wes was trying to say and what he was trying to do. So no, it doesn't get old, and again, there are these intermittent moments of like renewal. A couple of years ago, I was in Colombia, where we go. My wife and I go every year for 3 months to spend time with her family, and I got an email from a friend of mine with a link to the Museum of Modern Art in New York, in the city. So I clicked on it, and what I saw was that Last House was part of an exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art, where the theme was films that have a visceral effect on the human body. And in the entire history of filmdom, the thousands and hundreds of thousands of films that have been made, they picked six, and one of the six was Last House. So that kind of it gave me a boost, right? It gave me like, wow, pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, considering they only choose a few there, I mean, and the fact that you didn't know
Six.
Wes.
What?
No, I was going to say you didn't even know Wes Craven. You didn't know any of these people when you went on for the original. When you
No,
did you
I
walk
I
on or did you bring
no.
somebody
What
with you?
happened? No, what happened was I walked in. I had a manager. I was doing stand up, in the little clubs in New York, and I had a manager, Dick Towers, who actually was got himself a part in Last House. He was the guy who played the Mary's father under the name of Gaylord St. James, and Dick's office was in Rockefeller Center. And back in those days, you made the rounds every day, and you go see your manager, stop in for a few minutes. So I went in, and he said to me, "Young man, I have a film audition for you." Dick was very theatrical, right? And he said, "I have a film audition for you." He said, "Take this, go down to this address, ask for two guys, Wes and Sean, and let me know what happens." So I go down to Sean's office, and I meet him and Wes. I do the audition, uh, go back to Dick's office, and by the time I had gotten back to Dick's office, they had called and said, "That's our junior." So that's how it happened.
And he wasn't big at the time. Him being
He
what
was
like that
no, he was editing porn movies for Sean.
okay, and
He
ironically,
wasn't
while
big. He
he was
wasn't
here,
anybody. He had never directed a film before. He was a guy who was picking up rent money editing porn movies.
amazing. I have a quick clip I wanted to. We have a few of these in here that I
Yeah,
wanted
sure.
to throw in there if you don't mind. Now this is the part. It's from movie clips. We're gonna get it right off of YouTube there, and we'll share a screen here for those that are out there. Let's do that, and we'll just play that right there. So there you are.
There I am.
Oh, this is my roommate, Sam.
Hi, girls.
This is my sister, Martha. Martha, these girls, want to buy some grass. Come on in. Come on in.
Gotcha.
Oh, shit.
Hey, stick around a while. How about a bite?
Yeah, I'd like a little something to eat myself.
Nice going, junkie. Here's your yum-yums. So much for him. Now, I don't want you girls to worry. I mean, we just wanted some company, that's all, you know.
No, it's not expensive at all.
And that's the follow.
This room belongs in a magazine.
Not bad if I do say so. Hmm?
Oh, I feel like a bridegroom. I'm hearing bells.
I'm a cake in the oven. Come on.
A cake.
You wanted some grass.
Aw,
What do you want with some grass, huh?
Hey, you guys ain't cows, is you? Little cows looking for some
These guys
grass?
just like they freak me out, you know.
Let me
They
hear you
just
move.
do.
Come on. Come on. Move.
Yeah, they got the cute little udders on them.
You guys let us the hell out of here. I'm gonna start screaming.
Hey, you gonna scream? Listen, let me give you a little bit of free advice. If you make one peep,
All right, so we're finished on that one. Like I said, I those guys they kind of freak me out a little bit. You know what I mean? They just like they just
You want here okay, let me unfreak you, okay? Um David Hess,
Yeah.
we met on that film. He's passed away, and so is Freddie. David Hess and I became like brothers. That film led to a friendship, a close fraternal friendship that lasted until the day he passed away. My friendship with Freddie was somewhat similar, although not as fraternal, and I loved both of those guys. They were wonderful, kind, decent, talented people, and as a testament to their acting, Freddie was nothing like that character. Hess, I'll say that Krug was drawn from his, dark side, but he was still my big brother, and so it that film has given me a whole lot more, gave me a whole lot more than just the experience of the film. It gave me those friendships. And Jeremy, I'm still friends with. She and I do. And she was married to Richard Dreyfuss. We do conventions together. So,
okay.
yeah. So, you know, the impact that Last House has had on my life has been so like multifaceted that for me to ever get tired of it would be to get tired of something that was a cornerstone of my adult existence.
It was a lot more than just some scenes in a movie. It was pretty much paved the way and long-lasting friendships, people that were like family, and that you said you still talk
Yeah,
to this day. And
yeah.
this movie's 50 something years, right? I mean, it's
Oh
50
yeah. The
years.
fact that that's the astounding thing that even still astounds me is that we made the movie in 1971, was released in 72 I think,
Right.
and here we are in 2024, and I'm still doing stuff attached to that. Like
We're
I'm
still
booked up
talking
into
about it. Yeah.
we're still talking about it. I'm booked up into conventions, and like October, I have to go to my wife and I are going to Costa Mesa to a theater. They're having a screening, and I'm doing a Q&A. I mean, it's just fucking unbelievable that But
That is.
again, it's the definition of the word classic, that it stands the test of time.
That, yeah, cult classic. I know that they, and we'll get your thoughts on that in a second, but obviously you know that they remade this. I'm not sure what year it was. It was sometime. I was gonna,
2009, I think.
I was gonna say in that area, 8 or 9. I saw the remake. I don't know. I guess it was all right, but in my mind, I don't like change. I like that's like, to me, for use of a
Well,
better thought, like redoing Jaws or redoing like
well,
something. Leave it alone.
here's one of the elements of Last House that contributed to its reality, right? To that thing where people were going, "What the fuck is going on here?" Was that nobody knew who we were, right? No, we were. There were people were wondering if this was a documentary, if it was, what kind of, was this a crime thing that somebody photographed? Was it like a snuff film or something? Nobody. It had that because we were all unknown, so there was a certain like there was a certain rawness to the production, and that rawness came out on screen. But to the remake, I know that it was just a deal that was executed, right? It wasn't, and you knew who the actors were, and my as terrific as they are, Garrett Dillahunt is a wonderful human being and a wonderful actor, and the other people who were in it, Aaron Paul, and just so, but you knew who they were, and when you know who people are, and you know that they're acting, it kind of interferes with the suspension of disbelief.
And then you have a certain amount of freedom that comes along with that. Nobody knows who you are.
Correct.
Nobody knows what it is. So it's kind of, let's sit back and take a look. Whereas they can see you coming a mile away if they would have known. Let's say
Yeah,
this.
I mean,
Like,
yeah, it's still Garrett Dillahunt in this part. It's still Aaron Paul in this part. It's still this person in that part. But unlike our version, the original version, we were who we were. We could have been those people.
right. Yeah. For all intents and purposes, you were these people just caught on film, not acting.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
let's
Yeah.
play this one clip. This is I'm glad that you're still with us, but for those who have not seen this part, you go bye bye. Okay.
Okay. My father couldn't watch.
What the hell are you doing? Oh, you want to kill me?
I'll do it.
Okay, well, let me help you.
I really will.
Now, I want you to hold the gun out just like that. See? You see that little notch in the back? That little bump in the front? I want you to kind of get him lined up. That's right.
No.
You're not shaking that much. I know you can aim the gun. Just get him lined up.
No.
Pull the trigger. Come on. Pull the trigger.
I've got to kill you, Krug.
You always were a loser. Junior. I want to talk to you. Listen to Daddy. Come on. Now, I want you to take the gun. And I want you to turn around. And I want you to put it in your mouth. And I want you to blow your brains out.
No!
No, not at me. I want you to take the gun and I want you to put it in your mouth. And I want you to blow your brains out.
No!
Blow your brains out! Blow your...
And there's the necklace that you have on. That was from obviously from an earlier part. But like I said earlier, I'm glad that you're still with us, Mark, because you're a pretty cool dude. But it's not bad. I mean, you hear and it's like it's intense.
My dad couldn't watch that. My father, my father like went to screening after screening, saw the film. Every time that scene was coming up, he had to like conveniently had to go to the bathroom. He just couldn't fucking watch it. And I would say, Dad, I'm still here. It was just a movie. I can't watch it. I just can't watch it.
Yeah, well, I mean that's understandable. It's still brutal. You got a gun in your hand. There's blood coming out of your mouth. I mean, that's if that was my kid, I'd be like, yeah, I have to go to the bathroom myself. But you know what? And it's the funny thing is that nobody knew, and happens a lot in film, in music too, but a lot in film especially. You don't know, especially back then, how good something is going to be, how big it might be, how it could not do well, and the trepidation about it, and all of a sudden, boom, 15 years later, it's on VHS and people are watching it for the first time.
We saw the film. We saw an answer print of the film before its release. It was being released. It was financed by Hallmark Releasing, a company in Boston, out of Boston, and they paid. They put up the production funds. They owned a slew of drive-in theaters. So their plan was they had some accounting formula where they could put up so much money and put the film in their drive-ins over a certain period of time and make their money back and take the tax write-off and then make money, and so they wouldn't lose anything. They figured out how to make that happen.
Okay.
So Freddie and David, the whole cast and crew and everything, saw it at an answer print screening at a Film Waste post-production house on the west side. And David and Freddie and I walked out of it and kind of mutually shook our heads, right, and said, well, look, it was great meeting us. We're going to be friends. We're all good friends now, but nobody's ever going to fucking see this thing. It was just, nobody's ever going to see it. It's going to come and go, faster than a sailor on Fleet Week, man. It's fucking gone. So that's pretty much what was happening. It got released and it was doing exactly what Hallmark had hoped it would do. They wanted it to be this kind of annual thing they were going to run in their drive-ins. And then a couple of months after it was released, Roger Ebert, the Chicago Sun-Times, writes a 3.5 out of 4-star review of Last House. And the very next day, I walked into Sean Cunningham's office in New York, and he was scrambling around to calling every film a duplication house in New York because he had an order for 1,100 prints, and he couldn't fucking believe it. He just couldn't believe it.
Well, how many theaters was this in? I mean, was it in just one? It was filmed in New York, right? Or no?
It's filmed some in New York and mostly in Connecticut, up in Westport, Connecticut, where Sean Cunningham's family lived. Yeah. So I don't know. I think he had like 12 prints of it or 10 prints, some ridiculously low number. Right? So remember, back in those days, prints weren't made digitally. They actually had to be processed.
Right.
So he was running around after Roger Ebert review came out. It was madness. It was all over the country. It was people were clamoring, and we were, from what Jeremy and I have calculated, we were in the top 10 films in the United States for somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks after that review came out.
72? Wait, is that when it was released?
70? No, I think it came out in January of 72.
Oh, early 72. Okay. So this
I,
is at least a year, almost 2 years before The Exorcist came out. Because The
oh
Exorcist,
yeah,
yeah.
before yes, before that, before Texas Chainsaw Massacre, before any of those
All right.
films.
All right. It was a timing
Yeah,
thing. Yeah. It might not have, if you came on the heels of when Toby Hooper did his thing, maybe it doesn't get the same
maybe
attention.
not. Yeah, well, it's all fucking timing, man. That's the
Yeah.
whole everything is timing. So it was just one of these weird things. Like I'm a grain of sand on the beach of film history, American film history, but yet I'm fucking there. You know?
Yes, you are. You are there. Yeah, and it is. It's a timing thing. You couldn't have that type of movie. I mean, before that, there was cult classics, but not in the sense of.
that that didn't seem like much at the time has became something. And it's happened a lot, and then it just perpetuated me and propelled me from place to place. So I'm grateful. I'm humble and grateful about it. So and the fact that it's ongoing is, and I'm going to be 75 on my next birthday, and I'm still rocking and rolling.
And that, and you were how old when you did that film? When you were
I
20?
was I was 20 when I did it, and 21 when it was released.
Wow. So this has been part of your life for pretty much ninety
For the
percent of your
majority,
life.
yeah,
I mean, and
for the
such
majority of
humble
my life, yeah.
beginnings. Wes Craven got big. Other people got big. You went but you had so many other things that you were involved in,
Yeah,
which we'll get to. But it was your stepping stone. Everybody needed that shot, that one chance, not
yeah.
knowing what to expect,
That
and you gave it your best. And look at you now. Here we are. Like you said, you're going to be celebrating your 75th. God bless you. Your 75th
Thank
birthday,
you.
and we're still.
Yeah, and I still
You're
have
still
hair.
relevant. I know.
I'm the only person in my family at this age, male or female, who still has hair.
You have more than I do. I'll tell you that much. But I don't know how that could have came out at a better time had it been 1970, maybe not. That
It's
73
again,
with everything
it's
else.
that it's the stars lined up, man.
Yeah,
It just
good for
fucking
you.
happens. It was it right. I was in the right time at the right place.
You definitely were. You still are.
Right
So
place, right time. It's just
yeah. I mean, some people are lucky and some are blessed, and it looks like you were both because that was, like I said, but you made it happen. It wasn't like it was just handed to you. It was blood, sweat, and tears. You had to do this, and then ongoing to the next phase of your life with everything that we'll actually
yeah,
talk
but
about
it's
now.
look. I've had some down times, through the years, but all in all, I'm very fucking lucky. I am. I'm just really lucky, and I don't know how to say it better than that. I've just been I've been okay. I've been lucky.
I don't think anybody can say it better than that, Mark. That's you. That's a Shefflerism, we'll call it. That's one of those things where you just, it sounds like it's going to be okay, and then, but
That's the title. And the title of my book. I'm writing a book about my life and my career, and the title of the book is "Dumb Effing Luck."
really,
It's just that's the title of the
I
book.
got to get that.
"Dumb Effing Luck."
Where is that? Is that going to be like regular, like hardcover, or is it just electronic, or how does that?
No, I'm hoping I have an agent. I'm hoping it's going to be hardcover.
All right, good. So then people could get that. I'm guessing probably like Amazon, places like that. Now you can
Yeah,
check that out.
I'm a little more than halfway through it, so
Awesome. But don't forget this chapter. But in any event, and of course, now he's going to put his 2 cents into. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. Real life is going. We're in real time. Now, you went from that. Now,
uh,
you weren't in another horror movie after, or something that would be considered risque or as
which one?
intense as that. Since Last House on the Left, were you in any horror movies after that, or was that the
No,
only?
I no. What happened was I did Last House,
Yeah.
and what I gleaned from Last House for me personally was that I wanted to be more involved in the telling of the story, right? So I had never written anything, but I kind of like the idea of writing, and here's how I became a writer. After Last House came out, it's Glow was short lived in its initial run, right? Went up real fast and pretty much after a couple of weeks disappeared. But while it was going up, I had a really great 4 or 5 weeks with, partying and going places and doing shit. And,
Yeah, you're a movie star now, Mr. Sheffler.
yeah, yes. And,
Yeah.
and with all the attributes, that one can imagine. So yeah, there I am. So,
There's three of you.
and then when that went away, so did all the fun. And I was back to being just like another out of work actor in New York. And I thought to myself, man, I got to find something to do. I like the other thing where, there were girls all the time and, ooh, you're in this movie. Yeah, ooh. I liked all that. So,
The chicks were digging you. I feel you, brother.
yeah, I mean, that's, we talked about that.
Yes, we did.
So,
That's for another show, another day.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was going to do. So one night I'm at a party in New York, and I see a guy talking to this gorgeous actress, just hot looking girl, and whatever it is he's saying to her, she is completely wrapped up in it. So I kind of, ambled my way over there to try to hear what he was saying. And he was just a regular looking guy like me, just, nothing, no muscle guy, no good looking, Calvin Klein model looking guy, just a regular, nothing out of the ordinary. But what's coming out of his mouth had her in a tractor beam, man. So I got close to them, and what I heard him say was, yeah, well, I'm not so happy with the first 10 pages of the script, and my agent out in LA is hammering me for it, and I'll do a rewrite, tighten up the second act, tighten up the third act, and send it to him. We'll see what happens. Some bullshit like that, right? So I thought to myself, I could do that. I could tell girls I'm a writer. I thought that was pretty fucking cool. So I went out.
Sure.
So I went out. I went to some entertainment industry bookstores in New York, and I bought a bunch of books on writing, screenplays, and television. And I picked up all the language. I picked up, plot, subplot, narrative, dialogue, all the little terminologies that were in scripts. And I developed this rap where I'd go and I'd meet girls and I just fucking tell them I'm a writer and I'm working on a project, and I just really. And after a period of time, a few months, I had it down. Like I had a really, really tight little pile of bullshit going that was okay for me. So then I had done some commercials and gone on a bunch of auditions for a commercial house in New York owned by N. Lee Lacy. I'll tell you who he is. Lee is the guy. You remember that very famous Coca-Cola Mean Joe Green commercial?
How could I not? We are the meme machine, and that's half the reason why.
Okay, that with a little kid in the walkway with the shirt. Well, Lee was the guy who won a Clio for that, right? He's the guy who directed. He directed that. So for some reason he liked me. We got on, and he was sort of like a mentor for me, like a commercial mentor for me. So I got called into his office one afternoon to audition for a commercial, and I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and I'm in the middle of my spiel with some hot girl, and she's about to give me her phone number when there's a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and it was Lee. And I said, hey, and he said, hello. He said, can I talk to you for a second? I said, yeah, sure. So he took me aside, and he said, I have an agent in Los Angeles at William Morris. I want to read that script as soon as you're finished. I'd like a chance at selling it for us, and I said, look, man, you've been really good to me. You hire me, we've become friends, so I'm going to be straight with you. He said, all bullshit. It's like all fucking bullshit. There's no script. There's no story. There's nothing. I just do that to get laid. And he said, how's that working for you? I said, oh, really well. And he said, then you're a fucking idiot. And I said, why? He said, moron, if you can get women to take their pants off for the words coming out of your mouth, then you are using that gift for the wrong purpose.
No kidding.
And I said, well, so, I said, what do you mean? And he said, write that script. He said, write that script and then give it to me. So it took me, I don't know, maybe like a year, because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. It took me like a year to actually write it. So I wrote it, and he said, okay, I'll send it to my agent. So, those were the days when you actually had to send things. You couldn't just email them. So I don't know, maybe like 2 months later, 3 months later, I get a call from him, and I said, "What's up?" And he said, "Well, how'd you like to move to California?" So what are you talking about? And he said, "Well, my agent didn't think it was a feature, but he gave it to the TV department at William Morris, and they just sold it to NBC. So how'd you like to move to Los Angeles? I'll give you you can use one of our cars, you can use an apartment that we have, and I'll give you an office in my LA office, and you just come and we'll do it." So I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And he said, "No." So like in February of 1976, I moved to Los Angeles and landed. When I landed at LAX, unlike a lot of people, who go to California with nothing and have to take jobs as waiters or whatever, I landed with William Morris as my agent. I had sold the first script I ever wrote. I had money in the bank. I had a car, and I had an apartment, and I had an office. So and that's it. That's how. Yeah, good to go.
You don't know how you got there, but you're there.
I did. I didn't. I just couldn't. It all kind of easy, Oh, okay. And then I started going to meetings at, William Morris got me into the Comedy Store. LA, right? They got me into meetings, during before pilot season, and suddenly I was working. I was a working writer. I had no fucking idea what I was doing, except I could go in a room with other people who were older versions of me, goof off. Somebody would write down what I said and go, "This kid's pretty funny. This is good." So good. I don't even know what they're talking about. Good. What is it that's good? And and that's it. That's how it happened.
And you seem just as surprised now the way that you're telling the story as you probably were, if not more so, back then, which is kind of funny in itself.
Yeah, I was in the room with icons.
You still can't believe it.
I still can't believe it. Okay, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for it.
Right.
Okay, because like I said earlier, if it wasn't for show business, I'd be fucking homeless.
There'd be no business. Yeah.
There'd be no business, right? But I was in the room. I was suddenly working with like Ernie Chambers, a famous variety producer, Arnie Rosen, one of the all-time great television comedy writers, Danny Simon, Neil's brother. Suddenly I'm in a room with these people, and I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? It's like, whoa, I still feel like that sometimes, except, not so much.
That was delivering the pizza or whatever. By the way, just have a seat, kid, and we're going to give you this and give you that. And you said earlier, you just said, I picked up on it. You're like, I don't know why they liked me, but they liked me. Hey, don't even question it, man. Just do it.
But here's the thing. Before I did Last House, I was the stage manager. Like before I moved to New York proper, I was the stage manager at the age of 19 of the Raleigh Hotel's nightclub, Raleigh Hotel in the Catskills, and this was at the kind of like the tail end of the heyday of the Catskill Mountains. So I got a chance to see every stand-up comedian who worked that circuit multiple times, and I got a chance to work with them and know them. And then one of them offered me a job as his road manager, a guy named London Lee, right? So London, his whole act was based on the fact that he came from an extraordinarily wealthy Jewish family. His father was a giant dressmaker his father wasn't a giant, he was a little guy, but he was a dressmaker in New York at 7th Avenue, 498 7th Avenue, a company called Ellie Couture Dresses. So I got a chance to work with London, and I was his like driver, schlepper. I ran errands for him. But after like a couple of months, I wrote some jokes for him that he used, and he loved it. And then I became part of his act. We used to do a bit in his act. And then one night he wasn't feeling well. We did the bit. It was at the Nevele, a 1,200 seat nightclub. And I do the bit. The bit was in the middle of his act, he would say, I'm a little thirsty. I need some water. And he'd look to the wings. He'd go, Mark, can I have some water? So I'd come out with a glass of cold water. And on my cross to him, he would say to the audience, that's Mark. My father got him for me, which, in his act got a big laugh. And then I'd give him the water. And then he would say to me, hey, kid, who am I? And I would say, oh, you're the boss. And he said, well, who are you? And I said, me? I'm nothing. And he said, so what does that make me? I said, it makes you the boss over nothing. So audience would laugh at that, right? So it's a vaudeville thing,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
so normal routine was I do that joke, do the punchline, and I walk out. I exit on the laugh, right? So I do it, and I turn to exit, and he said to me, "Hey, come here." And I said, "What?" And I leaned over. He said, "I'm not feeling well. You think you could do 5 minutes? Give me a little rest." Now, I had been going into the city and doing little clubs here and there, and I'd been hanging out at the Improv, and I met, Bud Friedman, who became a dear friend when I was, 20 years old or something, and we became friends. And
Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you say I'm hanging out at the Comedy Store, is that when you started to actually get more involved in the comedy part?
yes. What happened was after I left the Raleigh and started working for London, and I was living in Inglewood, New Jersey, okay, right across the bridge. So I would go into the city when I wasn't working with him. I'd go into the city to little clubs, and I'd stand up and I was writing and starting to do stuff. And one of the clubs I went to, I didn't perform there because it was just out of my league at that time. Was the Improv, but I hung out there because one of London's writers, a guy named J.K., who was a very well-known stand-up writer in New York. He looked like Zero Mostel, so just kind of a guy looked like that. And he took me there for the first time and introduced me to Bud. And Bud's very first words to me when he shook hands and we met were, "Hello, young man," just like in his normal cadence, right? And for the, 50 years that our friendship was, every time he saw me, and I hung out at the Heather and I used to hang out at the LA Improv all the time, but I hung out at the LA Improv pretty much from the day I got to town. It was, "Hello, young man," and I love Buddy. He was like the best. So what happened was, so when I got to LA, selling the script, and I was in the meeting with William Morris to find out what I wanted to do, I told him that I had been doing stand-up, and I had done with London maybe 150 shows. So I had some stage legs. I wasn't, I was new here in LA, in California, but I had tremendous amount of experience.
So they in the business anymore.
Not new to the business at all. So they hooked me up with Mitzi Shore at the Comedy Store here, and she wouldn't make me a regular because she didn't know who I was. But she gave them an agreement that she would give me a specific time on Monday nights, which were potluck nights, right? Open mic nights. So I went the first time. I went to the Comedy Store a couple of weeks before my appointed time, and I shit my pants because I saw Steve Bluestein, Tim Thomerson, and a couple of other people on the same night, and I thought to myself, I'm so fucked. These guys are so much better than me. And it was a different kind of comedy because I was used to that Catskill Mountain cadence and that whole, which would have been great if that's what it was, but it wasn't.
In LA.
Now I'm in LA, and it's a whole different kind of comedy. So what happened was
when is this, Mark? I'm sorry.
This is 76. This is the
70s here. Okay.
Yeah, no, this is in 76. This is right after I moved here. So this is going to be like February of 76 that this I'm telling you.
Just to give you a frame of reference.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I write a brand new 5 minutes, and 2 weeks pass, and it comes my time. I go up on stage and I do it, and it works. You know, it wasn't like killer, but pretty much it was okay.
Out of it, right? I mean,
But better than the average person who had never been on stage, right? Because I was very poised and very calm on stage. So they asked me to come back. So now that's the second time, right? So I do some rewriting, I figure some more shit out, I go back. The second time, it's like 10 times better, right? Second time, 10 times better. So then they asked me back again with a designated time. And here's again what I was telling you about this fucking luck thing that I have. Over the couple of weeks that I did my first time and the third time, I hung out at the Comedy Store almost every night, and I met people, and I kind of, I just kind of like tried to become part of that scene. And I met Mitzi, who, just said hello to her, but she knew who I was. She knew I was the guy that William Morris was pushing. So on the third Monday night that I was doing this open mic night thing, potluck, I had an amazing time spot. I had like a 10-15 time spot, and the couple of comedians before me were doing really well. And you want the people in front of you to do well because they raise the level of the audience. So, it's an easier lift if they're already up there. So the quirk of fate was that Mitzi was in her booth showcasing somebody else, not me. She wasn't there to see me. She was there to see somebody else. So I go on stage and I fucking kill it. I had shaken the dust out of that new material. I'd really worked it. I watched over the preceding couple of weeks and listened to the audiences and listened to the other comedians, but mostly listened to the audience. And I tweaked it, and I got it where I thought it was pretty good. I did that 5 minutes, and I walked off the stage to an extraordinary amount of applause. And I saw her sitting there, and I'm an East Coast guy, and nothing fucking bothers me. So I walked right over to her and I said, "Hey, Mitzi, does it have to get any better than this?" And she was kind of taken by surprise, right? And she just looked up at me and she said, "All right, Mark, call in for spots." And that's how I became a regular and how I got my name on the wall there.
And you wrote your own stuff.
Sure, I wrote my own
copy for you. This was all you.
No, it's not copy, it's material. Copy is your advertising.
Well, I read copy. It's it's a little different, Rita, but it's the fact that you did your own original stuff is, I guess.
Yeah, I did. It was all, of course. But everybody did this. See, that was all of these comedians were writing their own stuff, and the only difference is, as I learned later on, we'd all get together afterwards and help each other out, right? But the opening night, my first night, I get a Tuesday night spot, like a 9 o'clock spot on a Tuesday night. And I was really nervous as shit because this was it. This was like serious shit now. And I knew it. So I was standing in the back of the Comedy Store in the parking lot, smoking a joint. And I saw George Miller come walking down the walkway to go into the Comedy Store's back door. So George sees me, and his nose goes up in the air, right? He starts sniffing like a hound dog, and he like follows the scent over to me, and he said, "Is that pot? Is that pot I smell? Is that pot?" And I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "Can I have a hit? Can I have a hit? I'm George. Nice to meet you." Is that? I said, "Yeah, I know who he was, man. He's been on the Tonight Show many times. I knew who George Miller was." So we shake hands, and he takes a hit and said, "You got any more of this?" I said, "Well, I sort of have access to it." He said, "Oh, we're going to be good friends." And he shook his hand. We shook hands. So he said, "You a comedian?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's nothing. It's good. You'll be fine." So we finished the joint, and he puts his arm around me and he says, "Come on, I'll take you in." So as we're walking into the Comedy Store, he looks to the right, and he sees this old Ford pickup truck with Indiana license plates on it. And he said, "Oh, my friend Dave's here. Dave, I'll introduce you. He used to be a weatherman. Can you believe it? A weatherman? Now he's a comedian. Well, who knows? He could be anything, right? Come on, introduce you." And it was Letterman, right? So I walked in, and that's like my first night. That's how I began. And within like 2 weeks of that, I met and hung out with Letterman, with Leno, Robin Williams, uh, Michael Keaton, Tom Dreesen, who I'm still dear friends with.
And this is the 70s we're talking about. This is before any of
This
those
is not.
movies
This
are
is no.
actually
This is
big.
March of 1976.
So none
Yeah,
of these people, Michael Keaton, any of these people you mentioned have kind of in
nothing.
the limelight, but nothing. I mean, Letterman, nobody knew who he was in
No,
'76.
he was a weatherman trying to be a comedian.
Right. And the fact that you guys were all, there was nothing pretentious about it. It was just you guys just chilling out and let's help each other and nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Here, smoke this and have that and high five. And that's the
right.
70s, a little bit more laid
Yeah,
back, different
we used
time.
to go that almost every night that the store was open where we were performing, we would end the night and then go over to the Sunset Hyatt House next door into the coffee shop and sit around and talk about the what we did that night. And we'd sit and help everybody would help everybody. It was very collegial, you know.
That sounds like
And
I didn't even know Michael
yeah,
Keaton
there was
did stand up. Honestly, I didn't even know that. So
yeah, yeah, he did.
humble beginnings,
Um,
right, Mark? I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here. That's
and we were all there. We were all part of it, you know. And those were the guys I was hanging out with.
all right. So we have that part of it down, and you're just cascade. Actually, not even. You were just kind of scaling this way, and we'll get lucky here. Then I'm going to write something. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know that people like it. I'm going to scale this
Yeah,
going forward, which I think is great because you could have said I did my one big thing. I had my 15 minutes, and that's it. And I'm going to go be a garbage man or whatever it is. It
no,
sounds
there's not no fucking way I'd be doing that. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I'm just saying. You mentioned earlier when we first came on the air that you said, this is the only thing I could have done, and you did, and you
Yes.
continue to. Now I'm going to flash this one. This I guess some people are going to actually recognize. Obviously, we're fast forwarding a little bit here, so
Yeah.
that's you, obviously in the red hat there. Obviously, Fonzie behind you, Henry Winkler. You've got Donnie Most in there. You've got, I mean, look at that, Pat Morita. You've got Al over there, Gary Marshall. I mean, just
So look. So
wow.
by when we did this, so this is a Happy Days reunion special. So there I am up front. As I mentioned before we did the show, in the right hand corner on the top, the guy with the hat was my partner, my writing producing partner, Sam Denoff, standing next to his dear friend Gary Marshall. There's Scott Baio behind me, and when we did this, I had done Charles in Charge, where that Scott was on, starred for quite a while. So Scott and I knew each other. Um,
And this is
and
after Happy Days. This is after Johnny Loves. Charles in Charge wasn't until what? 80.
89.
Okay, so it was still in the 80s, but it was the latter part.
Yeah, I joined it in 19. I joined it. I think I did. No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong about that. Charles in Charge was like 85. There was one season was on CBS, and CBS canceled it, and then it got picked up by Scholastic for syndication, and that's when I joined it. Lee Aronson, who was the co-creator of Two and a Half Men, he and I were writing partners at that time. So we got on to Charles in Charge because he knew Bill Greer, the executive producer.
So
So
had that
we did
not
a couple
been
of
picked up
scripts for.
by Scholastic, I was going to say, excuse me, that might have just died right there in the 80s, but it got picked up and into the 90s. You went with that, and you were
Yeah,
right. You were doing what you loved. You were getting good at it. You were honing your skills, and you got to
and
work
then
with a lot of big
and
names.
then after Charles in Charge, we left Charles in Charge because we were Lee and I were offered to go back to New York and work on a show called Everything's Relative, starring some unknown Broadway actor who everybody thought was going to be a big star by the name of Jason Alexander.
Oh, sure, Costanza. There you go. I like Jason Alexander.
Yeah, I like Jason's a great guy. So, but this was pre Costanza, right?
Right, pre Seinfeld, yes.
Pre Seinfeld. So you
So,
see, I've been around and done a bunch of crap, you know, but done some stuff.
well, that was the reunion show, and that came out. You said around 1990. So you had the Charles and Charles,
1990, I believe.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then
Charles was before that.
right, and then the picture that we were flashing that was for the Happy Days reunion one.
Correct.
So you did the
Correct.
comedy thing. So all right. So just for because you've done so many things, I think that's great. So you do Last House on the Left with Wes Craven, and then you are doing a little bit of comedy, and then you're doing a little bit of writing, and not knowing what the hell you're doing, but you know that you got to do something, and then all of a
Gotta-
sudden the stars align. You end up in L.A. and you are now we're talking like we're in the mid '70s now, and you're making contacts with people that
I'm in late 70s, late 70s.
okay. So from '76 on,
From 76 on. Yeah, I moved to LA in February of 76.
right? So here we are, bicentennial time, and then you're just kind of grooving along with these guys, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing, but able to sit and like have coffee with like nobody was acted like with their nose in the air, like that kind of, like acting aloof or anything like that.
No.
Everybody's kind of cool about everything. Which
Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna get that nowadays, but you definitely had it then, and I think that that's a special time in your life and a lot of theirs. I mean, you all kind
Look,
of
one here, I'll give you a Robin Williams story. Robin taught me one of the greatest lessons about performing that I ever learned. And that was one night, he was at Sunset, I was at Sunset, and somewhere by Sunset, I mean the Sunset Comedy Store. So back then, Mitzi had a branch of the Comedy Store in Westwood where UCLA is. So I see Robin like pacing the hallways in the back, and he looked like nervous about something. So I said, "What's up?" And he said, "Oh man, I got a 12:15 spot in Westwood, and I lent my car to somebody, and they're not back, and I can't get a hold of them. I don't know what the fuck." And I hate, Robin was, if he didn't perform, he didn't want to, he couldn't breathe. So I said, "I'll take you. I'll take you." And he said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, come on, man, let's go." So we go to Westwood, and we get there, and we walk in, and there are three people. Count them: 1, 2, 3. 3 people in the audience. So, ladies and gentlemen, Robin Williams. He gets on stage, and I'm telling you, he does the same exact show for those 3 people that he would have done if it was 300 people in there. Same show, same energy, same everything.
It didn't matter.
So
him, no
he
matter
he didn't care, right? So we get out of the store and getting into my car to go back to Sunset, and as we're getting in the car, I looked at him and I said, "Man, what a great fucking set you just did." And Robin was the sweetest guy. I mean, I miss him, and he was just the kindest, sweetest guy. And he just kind of said, "Oh shucks, man, thanks, like thank you."
Robin Williams.
Thank you. And he said, "Thank you." And I said, no, not that you could do a great show. We've all seen that. But the fact that you did the same show for those 3 people that you would have done for 300 people. And he looked at me, and I'm telling you, in the most innocent, casual manner possible, as he's getting into my car, he said, "Well, you gotta." And I said, "Well, that's a fucking lesson I gotta learn, because comedians are like famous for, they get mad at the 3 people in the audience who are there for the 97 people who didn't show up." Right. So I lost any anger or animosity that I might have ever had for going up on stage and having there only be a few people in the audience. Don't get mad at them because the other motherfuckers didn't show up. Be who you are to them. And he taught me that lesson. And we were never best friends, but we were friends. And when you're in the same place at the same time with the same people for a period of years, you become friends. You develop some kind of I guess it's that foxhole thing.
Yeah, I mean, and we're not talking about like anybody. I mean, obviously we're talking about Robin Williams. I mean, this guy was top shot. I mean, I guess he knew a little bit about comedy.
But Robin was the purest performer I've ever met and I've ever been around in my entire life. That he was, but he was a character, like when after he was at Paramount doing Mork and Mindy, and I was at Paramount doing Brady Brides. Once again, a very successful, mediocre career, right? So
somebody's got to do it, Mark. Come on.
So he sees me. We pass each other back and forth going to the commissary for lunch. Yeah. And he grabs me and he says, "Mr. Sheffler, you're going to be at the Improv tonight?" And I said, yeah, probably. And he said, want to have dinner? He said, absolutely. He said, I'll be there around 6:37. I said, no problem. So I get to the club and I'm hanging out, and Robin comes in close to 7 o'clock. We go sit down at a table. We start talking about, shit. I ask him some questions about work, how's it going, and he said, oh, it's okay, and we're doing this and going back and forth. Waitress comes over, takes the order, and in between that, right after she takes the order, the club starts to fill up.
Yeah.
And he says, excuse me, I'll be right back. And I looked at him and said, no, you won't. And he looked at me. He laughed. He laughed. And he said, no, I will. I said, Robin, now. So he goes and he starts going around and he's doing little bits for people at the bar. And he's, doing this. And I know he's got to do a set at the Improv. And whatever happens, he never returns to the table. And then he ultimately leaves, right? He just leaves.
And
so the end of the night,
there, right?
I'm by myself, right? So the end of the night, like a couple of hours later, I asked the waitress, I said, I guess he's not coming back, so I'll just take the check. And she said, Robin took care of it. So
Robin Williams paid for the check, didn't have a thing to eat, right? He didn't have
a thing to eat.
And he just
didn't have a thing to eat.
Screw you up like
he didn't want,
dead, right?
Yeah.
Thinking I heard that.
Yeah, he was just a really good guy. I understand, knowing him the way I did.
Yeah.
I sort of understand why he did what he did, because, like I said to you earlier, if he couldn't perform, he was his performance muscle was his mind and his body working in harmony. Right? It was always that Robin Williams couldn't say hello without his entire body. If he said hello to you, it was with his entire being. And
on every interview, I've never seen it once. I think about his son or something where he was actually very serious. But everything that I've ever seen, I've seen him.
See, I had soft moments with. Yeah, I feel lucky in the sense that I had regular moments with him.
Right, not for not but and those are the ones that you'll take with you to your grave. It just seems to me that I've spoken to a lot of people, Mark, not just radio style, but just like in passing and in the business and how it goes. Mostly here in New York, not in LA where you are. But from what I heard, because obviously, he went to Juilliard and everything. He was East Coast guy for a while, and he seemed like he could bring joy to everyone, but ultimately not himself. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know how true that is. You had it.
I don't know. I think
I'm sad still that he's gone. It's been 10 years, by the way.
I think that's that's a little overblown, and he perpetuates and it perpetuates the myth of the dark comedian who the crying clown kind of thing.
On the inside type of,
I don't know how much that's 100% true. I'm sure there's an element of that to mostly everybody that I know, but it's not really, like I said, I knew him. I had quiet, real discussions with him about non-show business things. And, we talked about cars. We talked about
being
food.
We talked people, not that you're abnormal if you're in the business, but you know what I mean? Like just everyday human beings.
Yeah. So, I miss him because he was just a really good guy. He was, like I hadn't seen him in a few years, and he was on the People's Choice Awards, one of the People's Choice Awards that I was a writer on with Sam, and he sees me in a break, in a tape break, and he's Mr. Sheffler, and he stands up and he gives me a big hug, and just he was just a really solid guy.
It's be one Robin Williams, obviously.
Yeah. That level of talent.
I know they did say. I mean, like I said, it's been 10 years. I can't believe it was 2014. So here we are in 2024, and the fact that I still miss him just from stuff like Moscow on the Hudson, one of my favorite films. Didn't get the big ado like Mrs. Doubtfire and other,
right.
Whatever. for me, I liked that. Even the one with him and Matt Damon, Good Will Hunting. That was another side of him. So he was
Yes.
a little bit funny, but that's not what the role called. He was versatile. People didn't always get to see that because I just feel that he was more than an. I mean, no one will ever have that same kind of energy. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall with him, Sam Kinison, and John Belushi because he was my absolute favorite was Belushi.
Yeah.
Fly on the wall in that hotel. Just you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
I didn't know Belushi or Kinnison, but yeah,
Right.
I hear what you're saying.
Think about that. That's like three heavy hitters sitting in. I would have loved to have heard just a little bit of what they had to say, just a little, obviously. But the fact that you were able to not just rub shoulders with Robert Williams, you were a friend. You weren't best friends, but you were in his life as much as he was in yours.
Yeah. I mean,
Right? I mean,
we were friends for sure, 100% for
Robin
sure.
Williams, the friend, not the performer so much, but the actual person, the friend to Mark Sheffler. Like that means something. I mean,
Yeah, and
I don't know.
he was a he we were standing. My dad used to come visit me from Pittsburgh out to L.A. and hang out with me. We were standing outside of the Improv one night on Melrose, and I saw Robin coming from the west side, from the east side, the Fred Siegel side, Crescent Heights, towards the Improv, and he had something underneath his arm, rolled up. So as he got closer, he had met my father. My father met him pre Mork and Mindy, and then after Mork and Mindy, and he was, always, used to tease around with my dad, and he comes walking, and he sees my dad standing there, and he says, "Ah, Lord Sheffler, from the east. How goes the war, sire?" And my dad just like cracks up, right? So Robin goes into this English thing, the Shakespearean thing that he would default to. So my father said to him, "What do you got under your arm?" And he pulls it out, and it was the first People magazine with him as Mork on the cover.
Oh yeah, it was like '79 or something like that. It was in that area. I remember.
Yeah, whatever that was. So Robin says, "Yeah, I just came from the newsstand, and they just got put out, and I bought a few, and there's this one." So my father said to him, "I'm going right to the newsstand and get one, and I'll come back, and will you sign it to me?" And Robin said, "You don't have to go anywhere. I have more. Take this one." So he gives it to my dad, signs it, and my younger brother Michael still has that. Still has it. He has that magazine.
Right on the spot. Look at that. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's cool. All right, so we have
sweet.
as you're scaling through once again, and you're going, and we go through the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. But there's a person that obviously that we had made mention before, and obviously that's amazing. By the way, the fact that you were able to hang out and be part of the life of Robin Williams, because he's touched so many of them. But you had a front
Yes.
row seat. Speaking of front row seats, there's a young lady that I absolutely look. There was only two posters, women that I had in the '80s on my wall, only two, and it happened to be one was Farrah Fawcett, obviously, because being come on, and the other one was Heather Thomas. And I kid you not, there was a lot of stuff on my walls and everything growing up, and however, those were the only two that ever made it to my wall. Now, I don't know if you ever met Farrah, but I know damn well that you met Heather. So
Oh
I
yeah.
want to touch on that because I think a lot of people, especially my audience, Generation X here, and
So
I'll
um
say that, and I'm going to flash a picture that you sent to me, just so everyone knows. I
yes.
didn't find it. Someone here we go.
Okay. Yeah, there we are. I was Heather's 8 years younger than I am, so I was like 28 at that time, and she was about 20, I think.
Yeah, wow, look at you guys.
Yeah. So I got a call one day from my agent who said, "Hey, there's a sitcom over at CBS that just got picked up called Coed Fever, considered one of the worst TV shows ever made." But I knew the two guys who created it. One was a guy named Frank Shaw, and the other was his partner, who I am still very close friends with, Michael Elias. Michael wrote The Jerk for Steve Martin and Frisco Kid with Gene Wilder. and a show called Head of the Class. Michael and his other partner Rich Eustace did. Michael and I are still very close friends, and Michael was one of my early. There's Heather, another picture of Heather and me.
Yeah.
He said, "We want to put you on that show." And I said, "Sure." He said, "But you know, you got to go and go through the motions and go meet Frank in the office." So I said, "But I see Frank every weekend at parties and at Michael's house." He said, got to go to the meeting. It's just." So I went, and Frank Shaw and I sat around, got high, and he told me what he wanted to do with the show, and I said, "Fine." He said, "Okay, you're hired." So I go to work on Coed Fever, and one of the regular cast members was this girl named Heather Thomas, this young, beautiful, kind of college girl actress named Heather Thomas. So
who's from Santa Monica, I believe.
From Santa Monica, right? She grew up in Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
Came from a family of brilliant people, and I'll get to how brilliant she is in a minute. So we meet on the set. The writers and actors meet, and we're talking, go through table readings. And I don't know how long it was that we were in production, where one night I get a knock on my door in my office, and I open the door, and she's standing there. And I say, "What can I do for you?" And she said, "Want to hang out?" I said, "What?"
You're killing me, man. You're absolutely killing me. Go ahead.
Well, wait. Okay, so I'll say what I'm about to tell you for a couple of minutes. So, I roll a joint. We're sitting there getting high, and we're talking, and she starts talking about like philosophy and things, and I think to myself, this person is fucking deep. I don't know if I'm really prepared for this. Like, here she was.
To come out of a beautiful blonde, all of a sudden the brain.
No, I said this. She's talking like Kierkegaard and Sartre and all this fucking philosophy shit, which I sort of knew about, but I felt like really woefully inadequate. Like I had like an intellectual 1-inch penis at that time, because she's just talking
there, sir.
way out of my fucking league. I needed a book to keep, and I'm smart. I'm sort of smart, right? But I needed a book to keep up with her. And but she had a boyfriend at the time. We were never, Heather and I, as I go on to tell you, we were never like romantically involved. We were, but she became one of the most important people in my life. And I'll get into that in a second. But she had a boyfriend at the time, some guy a college boyfriend, who also grew up in Santa Monica, whose mother was on a soap opera, and his name was Corbin Burnson, and we all became friends, right? Corbin was still in college when I met him, and we all became friends. So my friendship with Heather was significant in my life, because first of all, we lived together twice. We were roommates, once at my house in Laurel Canyon when she was doing Zapped with Scott and Willie, and then when I left my house in Laurel Canyon, I moved into her apartment in Santa Monica at Ocean Towers, right on the beach. So, but what she did for me was, I grew up. I came of age in kind of like that post Playboy, right on the edge of when Playboy and that whole male thing was, there, and it was soon to wane, right? And luckily, but she was the first woman in my life who I was friends with, beyond any romantic involvement, right?
Yeah, you
like,
weren't trying to put the moves on Heather Thomas. She was
no
valuable to you as a confidant, as a.
She was. First of all, she's fucking brilliant, right? She's literally, and I don't mean this. I mean the word brilliant. She is so smart and so knowledgeable about so many things, but her essence is just she's like that picture. Whatever somebody would think of that picture, is like 1/10 of 1%
Really was.
of who she really is.
Right, because it's all
Okay,
optics as far as, oh, she's a
she
beautiful
right.
woman and dismiss it as she's a pinup girl, but you're telling me that's
She's
that's nothing to it.
that's that's nothing. That is she is one of the smartest, deepest, kindest, most profoundly intelligent human beings I've ever met in my. And we're still friends. We're still friends. And she just she's married to a guy named Skip Rittenham, who is you know like lawyer emeritus of show business.
Yeah, he's a decent
And
lawyer. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
you couldn't be married. You couldn't be in a 30-year relationship with however long it is. Let me see, 85, 85, 95, 205. Yeah, you couldn't be in that relationship with a guy as smart as he is and be an idiot. You just couldn't. It wouldn't. It would flame out. But
No.
she's she is just, and he's the same. He's a sweetheart of a guy too. But Heather, she's my daughter. I have 3 children. My middle's a daughter. Heather's her godmother.
So she's just,
You know,
and that's just his family as the way that you're talking about her. And
she but right, but
yeah.
but her, she changed my perspective, my point of view on what women. She opened my eyes. She caused a sea change in my existence, and I'm forever grateful to her for that. She's We did so much shit the summer before Fall Guy got on the air, and I had gotten a show on the air. I co-wrote with Gabe Kaplan called Lewis and Clark on NBC, and that summer is the summer that she was living with me in my house in Laurel Canyon, because Corbin had broken up and she didn't have a place, and I had this extra room, so she moved in, and we just partied the whole summer. That was the summer where we would do things like rent a cab in LA for the night and go around from bar to bar. We'd carry board games with us, and we'd go and like drink tequila slammers in one bar and play a game of Monopoly and then Ouija board and stuff. We had these board. We'd just drive around, and we had a red and white cab company. We'd just pay the guy for the night, give him a couple of $100, and they would just drive us. It was like pre Uber, right?
I mean, being that you're out
What?
on the town and everything, I'm guessing at some point you kind of felt protective of her.
Oh, extremely, always, yes, always,
walking, and this
yeah,
is the
but
phase, so
yeah, but I will tell you that she was a great wingman for me. She was because I'd walk in with her, and other girls would be like, "Who's this little guy?"
Who's
Right?
this
And
guy that's hanging out
with
this?
right,
Yeah.
right, and right, and she was no, she is one of the I can't the words superb human being barely applies to what I think of her, and the positive influence on my life that she's had.
That's what it sounds like. I mean, it's a lot more than meets the eye. I mean, people saw the pinup girl, but they didn't know.
They saw what they wanted to see, right? And
Of course. I mean,
and that was okay.
Right.
That was okay. But I know who she really is.
Right.
Like I know, like I knew her mom and her dad and her sister. Like I was very close with her family.
Sounds like good.
Yeah, we spent Thanksgivings and Christmases for years. After I got married. Oh, so my former brother-in-law in Louisiana owned a couple of consumer electronics stores back in those days. You remember Crazy Eddie?
Of course. I mean, Jersey.
Okay, he was
we're insane, Marc. Come on.
Yeah, he was Crazy Eddie's first cousin, right? So
great.
he was So I got Heather to come to Louisiana to shoot some commercials for him, and that I directed. So we spent like a week doing that, and had some fun down there. And this was right around the time when she and Skip were getting serious and getting together, and I was getting serious with the woman who became my first wife. And we just she's just the greatest. I'm telling you, man. She's like kind and caring, and she's on the boards of charities, and she didn't waste who she was in service of herself. She helps people, and she registers voters, and she's on these women's
Read about a
committees.
lot of this stuff. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
like to talk to her about it one day. I would like to because to have more eyes and more ears on what she is really involved in, what's going on right now. I think would be great. But that's another conversation for another time. I just to let people know. By the way, yeah, she still does exist, and by the way, she's doing these great works. I'd love to talk to her
yeah,
about that one day
she's the
because
best.
it's just it sounds like it takes a special like Robin was special in his own way, Heather was special in her way. You, sir, are special in your own way. You don't have
That's
to be
yet to be
Heather. You don't have to
that's
be
yet to
Robin.
be determined.
Yeah, well, right. Well, the chapters aren't all written yet, man. You're still
Right.
you're still doing all right. So we have that part, and as we wrap up, I want to be able to let people know because we've kind of brought them through the decades, and here we are now. And I'm very grateful that you're here because you've done so much, but you continue
Thank
to
you.
do more. Speaking of,
I do.
so you have a great wife, a great life, nice, wonderful children. Your best friend, your little doggy over there that we heard before. I mean, you are surrounded by love, and there's no price tag you could put on that. Obviously, I
No,
can say that.
no.
But going forward, now that you are involved, tell our listeners, please, get them
Well,
involved in what's going
my
on down there.
I've been going to Colombia, the country of Colombia, for the last 18 years. My wife and I have been together 20 years. I've been going for the last 18 years,
That's awesome.
and spending a lot of time there. Anywhere from our trips are like 3 days we did on a weekend on a whim to 3 months, which is our kind of average trip. So last June, and the first time I was there for any length of time, 18 years ago, I saw some things that made me laugh. And so I'm an inveterate note taker. Like if I see things that make me laugh, I write them down. So I over the years I filled up like you know like about 18 of these books, right?
That's a
12, 15,
comedian
8.
for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
Anything slightly funny, find a napkin, find a paper, do something, and get it
yeah.
down. Right?
Yeah. So
There you go.
last year in June, my wife announced to me that she wanted to spend even more time with her mom, who's getting older, and her family. So I had to find something to fucking do because I couldn't just be the guy who picks the restaurant every day. I had to have some purpose.
All right.
So I went through my notes and everything, and what emerged was a I thought was a framework for a bilingual sitcom, and a title came to me immediately called and it's Tio Loco, which means crazy uncle, because all of my wife's brothers and sisters have children, and they're all girls. So I have like six nieces that I've grown up, that I've been around since, some of them since the day they were born, and grown to various ages. So I looked at it and I thought to myself, well, shit, let me see. So I wrote a treatment and I gave it to a friend of mine in Bogota, who I knew from Cuba when I went there to executive produce the first multi-camera sitcom ever done there in 2010.
Telling me about that, yeah.
Yeah, he liked it. And I said, okay, find me a young producer, like a real legit producer. So he did, a fellow named Andres Borda, who is now my partner. And we are close, like right after today. Today, I have a meeting with casting director Marc Hirschfeld, who's in New York, his LA partner, Geraldine Flood, my partner in Bogota, and me. And so we have a, a deal not in writing yet because of some Writers Guild stuff that we have to work out. But I'm with a company called Miracle. The people who do that have done that terrific 6-episode series on Netflix called the Hijacking of Flight 601.
Right.
uh, we talk to them about it, and it's something that they're interested in. So if we can work out the details that need to be worked out, I may get lucky and be able to tell this charming story that I've lived in the last 18 years and is ongoing. So we'll see. You know,
Sounds good to me. I mean, by the way, just for those that might not have this on the back of their mind, the fact that you could have that meeting, obviously everybody could be remote and everything, kind of like you being in LA and me being in New York, but this would have taken a while to meet with all these that you know,
oh,
jumping on planes and over here and send a FedEx to the script over here and then over there and then we're gonna go now. Amazing, right? That
now it
you can
happens in a
all
second.
I mean, because back in the day, like when we were talking about like stuff in the 70s, it would have taken forever. I mean, for God's sake, it took like 8 hours to get a fax back then. So I can imagine.
Yeah. No, it was
And
terrible.
but the fact that you're able to do that, I think is great. I mean, you've done so many things, and here you are being very humble, I should say, and modest, saying I can't do anything. I'm dumb when it comes to everything else. This is the only thing I could have done.
It's true.
God,
I'm not kidding.
but no, I get it. And but the fact that not only are you cognizant of it, but the one thing that would be the one saving grace in your life happened to be the thing that you did
Yeah.
and doing.
That's why I'm
Amazing,
lucky.
Mark. No, that in itself, forget about anyone else that you met. Just Mark Sheffler right there. The fact that you are in this, and here you are in your 70s, and you're still doing stuff that hasn't even been done yet. That you're still working. You're on open projects. That's amazing. You could have walked away, been happy. I have a great family. I had a great life. I met all these great people, and I lived with Heather Thomas, and I was friends with Robin Williams, and I knew this one, and I met it. That wasn't enough because there's more to you. There's layers,
Well, I want
right? I mean,
to. I want to tell this story. So the story of my life in Colombia, being a fish out of water in this funny, quirky family. So I really want to tell that story. So
all right, we'll wrap up with that then. We'll let you that be your coup de grace there, as Bugs Bunny would say.
who I also wrote for.
Oh,
How
wrote
Bugs Bunny
about
won the
what?
West. If I would have just been a little more patient, I might have. I might have had a more substantial career. I might have learned some things that I had to learn earlier than I learned them. But you know, I don't get into that self recrimination kind of thing because it is what it is, and you just have to deal with it. So you know, uh, that's a nice intellectual exercise when people say, "Well, if you could change anything," and you're like, "Well, I can't fucking change anything, so who gives a shit?" You
Yeah.
know?
No, I didn't say if you could change it. I said if you would have done it differently, not actually going
Yeah,
back, but just in reflection. I'm talking
I
about.
think I would have stayed I would have done more stand up and I would have written more episodes of other people's shows instead of constantly being in search of my own show.
Well, to each his own, but I obviously you're surrounded by people that care about you, love you, people
Yeah.
that still watch stuff that don't know really Mark Sheffler, but they're like, oh, that's that Junior Stillo guy. Oh, I remember him. And whatever it is, or he wrote for Charles in Charge, or he did. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember being at the comedy store in L.A. back in the day. There. Oh yeah, that's right. He was friends with Heather. Oh yeah, Rob. This one common denominator, and that's you, my friend. So that's pretty
There
cool
you
stuff.
go.
I've talked to a lot
Yeah.
of people, and
It's fun.
but you're very down to earth, which not everyone can be, and talking very, like in an unambiguous kind of way. Like here's a specific
Hey, do me a favor. Could you write me a note about that cuz my wife thinks I'm an arrogant piece of shit. So,
well, well, I can. This is a dead end for me, Mark.
I know. I'm
I
just
can't
kidding. I'm
remember.
just messing with you.
I know. Look, don't do anything to upset her and just go from there. And I think you've been living that type of life. Don't toe the line, my friend. You're too good of a guy, and you're becoming a friend. I don't need any shit to happen to you, man.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
but in any event, I wanted to thanks. I really do. Thanks so much for
Oh, sure.
being
Sure.
candid and telling the stories that you're telling. I mean, we're unscripted here, right? We didn't go over anything. We could barely get an
Yeah.
email to each other, but we
No.
are able. I mean, these people, my audience, whether they watch it, listen to it, or both, may get to see something a little bit behind the scenes of who Mark Sheffler is. And I look forward to your new project. And
Thank you.
I'd like for
Thank
you
you
to
very much.
announce it when it comes out. That one's on me. That just for the fact that I have pictures of you with Heather Thomas. I mean, I'm gonna do this shit on eBay. Hold on a minute. I gotta.
That's funny. All right, Greg.
Now,
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. It was great
oh,
fun.
you are quite welcome. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Sheffler always will be known. Take good, Mark. Always will be known as the guy from the last house on the left, which is not a bad deal. You know what I mean? Pretty cool dude. And like I said, I got to know him a little bit, and he's very forthcoming. He does not, obviously, as you could hear from his nomenclature there, he doesn't hold back. That's the type of people that we have here on the Meme Machine, because real people talking about real stuff. And I mean, there's always been a time where I said, well, you can make things up and explore this. When you have nonfiction, real people like Mark, like other people that we have on from time, I mean, that's the good stuff. And he's been around, and he's not this glorious thing. Like, he talks about it as if he's still the lucky one. Well, that's says a lot about the character of our last guest that was on there. So much thanks to Mark Sheffler for joining us today on 88.6 FM WGAT right here in the lovely Garden State. That's right, we're in Jersey, baby. We will see you again. We have plenty of stuff on. Don't forget, if you got us on iHeartRadio and of course on Spotify, we'll have this episode and other ones will be on our YouTube channel, which is at Mean Machine Radio. If you're into the visual part, if you want the audio part, obviously, if you're local, it's 88.6 FM, and you can always catch us all over our social media. So, anyway, thank you very much. Have a great time out there. Everybody stay safe. Keep your fingers crossed. Keep your eyes crossed. Everything will be fine. 2 feet on the wheel. And if you can't be good, be mean. We'll see you again soon. And hey, we're only a call away. If you want to check us out, I am Gregory Joseph. And thanks for listening to the Beam Machine. See you soon.
WGAT, your ultimate destination for real people, real life, and pop culture discussions. Join us for insightful conversations, special guests, and a lot of fun every week. Don't miss out on the excitement. Listen to the Mean Machine Radio Show.
Get ready for a ride of a lifetime with your favorite DJ.
You're listening to the Mean Machine Radio Show on